Ladies and gentlemen, we've got balance changes, and I'd like to preface this video by saying I am a big fan of Donald's work with the balance changes. He's currently in charge of balancing, and every single month he does a tremendous job, and he's very open to feedback. So I'm glad we have him on the team. Shout out to Donald, and let's get started by explaining each and every one of the upcoming balance changes. We've got Tornado, and I'd like to preface this by saying what you're seeing on the screen is the current version of the card. They didn't send us the dev build gameplay yet, so they're not actually in effect in the dev build, so we can't show them yet, but I'm going to still explain them. Anyways, Tornado is currently getting a 50% damage nerf, but not how you'd think. So, you see how it's doing damage twice in 1 second. It lasts for 1 second. It has one tick of damage and then a second tick of damage. They're going to take away the second tick, so it's only going to do the first tick of damage, which will cut the damage in half, which is interesting. I mean, I do hate losing to getting my tower tornadoed, but I don't know if, Tornado's such a good card. I don't know if nerfing the damage is going to change that many interactions and really change the card to make it weaker and less oppressive. Up next is the Rage, and as always, let me know what you think of each and every one of these balance changes. I'd love to hear your feedback so I can talk directly to the balance changer, Mr. Donald, and we can all give him feedback as creators. But the Rage spell is getting a damage nerf. It is a 23% damage nerf, which also affects Lumberjack. Now, of course, I'm going to get the hate comments talking about how I don't know what 23% of a Rage interaction nerf does. I don't. I imagine it does something, like it doesn't kill maybe some sort of, I don't know. If anybody knows what this interaction does, I'm down to hear it in the comments. But it's getting a 23% damage nerf, and I don't want to see a single soul telling me, oh, you don't know what a 23%, just sabow. Dagger Duchess is getting a nerf to its damage. Again, here's another one of it's getting a 5 damage nerf, which is also subsequently 5%. Which is interesting. It's 5% damage nerf. It will do 5 less damage at tournament standard. What this changes, I don't know. I don't know what this changes. Somebody knows, not me. But it's getting. I'm just the messenger. It's getting a 5% damage nerf, which I can't think off the top of my head what that would change. I don't also know how this makes it less oppressive, but I guess if you add up all the daggers, it does 5% less damage for each dagger. It's significant. So. Maybe it's not an interaction change, but maybe multiple daggers is an interaction change. Let's say it takes 4 hits to kill something instead of 3. So it's interesting. I think the Dagger Duchess is oppressive, but I feel like it's more. I don't know if it's more the decks that make Dagger Duchess broken, or if Dagger Duchess itself is pretty strong, because it is. So it'll be interesting to see how this balance change works out. The 7th or possibly 8th Goblinstein nerf is another useless nerf. It's getting a 4% monster health nerf. That is a tower hit. So the Goblinstein monster will now die in one less tower hit, which is awesome. I'm so. Okay, well, I would love to see a Goblinstein nerf to its ability. I think the ability, you don't want to kill it. The ability is what makes it strong. But I feel like if we gave it like a 5% or like a half second, like we took the ability and cut it by like a half second, I feel like that would be just amazing. And they should definitely try and think about doing that, because this HP nerf does nothing. It spit in my face. The Berserker. What the hell is a Berserker? That's a good question. I don't know what a Berserker. I'm joking. Nobody plays this card. It's useless. It was another flop by Supercell, but they're attempting to make it a little bit better by giving it a 8% health buff, which I feel like the health is not the issue of this card. I think it's still the damage. The damage of this card is just bad. It's just bad. It's 2 elixirs. There's nobody. Why would I would use stab goblins. If I'm using a 2 elixir cycle card, it's stab goblins every day of the week. And if I'm a hog player, it's ice golem. Or loon player. This card is never going to see the light of day. I think you'd have to like triple its damage, and then maybe people start using it. Like, you get what I'm saying? This card is just useless. I don't think this buff does anything. To all my bush users out there, we've got the Suspicious Bush getting a pretty nice little buff to its damage. It's getting a 12% damage buff, and the Suspicious Bush already packs a lot of damage. So this is going to make them even more dangerous when they get to your tower. If they get to your tower, because they don't usually get to your tower. Outside of that one Rage deck with Cannoneer that's like really fun to play. Prince, Rage, Bush. Yeah, speaking of the Prince, it's not getting a nerf. We're desperately pleading with Donald to get the Rage, the Prince a nerf, but currently all we get is Suspicious Bush. So enjoy. Evolved Telsa is getting a buff to its pulse damage. It's going to do 17% more damage every time it goes. Again, I don't know what that changes, but I just know that the Tesla is really, really weak. So it definitely does need this sort of buff, although I won't be excited. But hey, if we can balance out the buildings, make cannon a little bit weaker without directly buffing the cannon, I think that's good. Good idea. Makes Tesla a little bit better. Tesla is currently the worst evolution in the game, so definitely needed a nerf. Or buff. Oh my god. And everybody is going to love this one. The Lumberjack evolution is getting a rework, which is a nerf. Thank the Lord. It is getting a nerf to its cycle. It's now no longer going to be one cycle. It'll be 2 cycles, which I am... yeah. I'm very happy for that. Very, very happy for that. However, to balance that out, it is also getting a damage buff to its ghost. The ghost will now do 10% more damage. Halas. I'm okay with that. It will do 10% more damage. And it is now 2 cycles, so you won't see Lumberjack the Bridge first play, and then next one's Evo Lumberjack. Thank the heavens. Very good. Love it. Now, here is probably the most interesting balance of the balance changes. The Goblin Gang is getting affected, but indirectly. So what they're doing is they're nerfing the first hit speed of stab goblins by 50%. So from 0.4 seconds to 0.6 seconds. And this is really, really interesting. Because it's going to affect, not only, it's going to affect every single goblin card. It's going to affect Goblin Gang, Stab Goblins, Goblin Barrel, and the goblins that come out of the run sack of the Goblin Giant Evo. So they are all going to be nerfed their first hit speed, which I think is, I like that. I kind of like that. It makes melee units do a little bit better against the Stab Goblins. However, they are going to rework the Goblins and the Goblin Barrel. So the Goblins, the 2 Elixir Stab Goblins that are actually a really fun card to use, they're going to get, so currently they have a weird like deploy time where they're 1.2 seconds. Almost every card's 1 second. But basically they're going to change that back to 1 second. So they're going to change it back to 1 second and keep the damage, or the first hit speed nerf we just talked about. And the same thing is going with the normal Goblin Giant Evo thing. They're not, the deploy time is not affected by that, but they are also interestingly nerfing the Goblin Barrel, well, reworking the Goblin Barrel, which is, where's my Goblin Barrel? Oh, there it is. That's why I couldn't find it. The Goblin Barrel is getting a really interesting rework. So basically, the first hit speed is also going to be nerfed. Because I said it was all stab goblins, and it is. So the first hit speed of the Goblin Barrel will now be 0.6 instead of 0.4. However, to make up for this, they are going to buff the deploy time of the Goblin Barrel by 18%. So instead of being a 1.1 second deploy time, which it doesn't mention here, it will be, well, does it? No, it doesn't. It will be a 0.9 second. So it will, once the goblins come out of the barrel, they will attack 18% faster. What is the word I'm looking for here? At the same time that they are getting a first hit speed nerf. So it doesn't, I think it's fine. I think basically nothing about the barrel changes. I don't think anything of the barrel changes. So if you're playing barrel, you're worried about it, don't worry about it. It's a bit confusing. I'll ask for clarification, but it looks like the stab goblin's first hit speed is getting nerfed, but the deploy time of the barrel is getting buffed. So they should cancel each other out. And this is really overcomplicated the way they're looking at it, but they're basically just trying to make the Goblin Gang a little bit weaker without really affecting the other goblins way too much. So instead of nerfing goblins, the Goblin Barrel, they gave them subsequent buffs to balance them out. So it's a little confusing, but overall, I think these balance changes are really good. I don't think some of them are going to make a difference. Suspicious Bush, Berserker, I think those cards just suck. But let me know what you think. Let me know what you think. And I definitely think we're missing a Prince and Ice Wizard nerf that I will ask for, as well as many other creators will probably ask for as well. So let me know. Have a great rest of your day.